I think that Kawhi Leonard is naturally untrustworthy of others. And I don't say that as a bad thing or some type of personality flaw. He's very close to the vest. I think he's very skeptical of people outside his very small circle. He is not a guy that puts himself out there. He's not loud or brash or colorful or has a big personality like so many players of the NBA. He's uncomfortable when I think the spotlight gets a little too much on him. And he's very difficult to crack into that inner circle. I think he's just naturally distrustworthy of many people. And I think what has happened with this is, even though the Spurs seem to have a model organization, I think Kawhi Leonard has become distrustful of the organization. And I think he has become distrustful with the medical advice he has gotten from the organization. I think he's become distrustful because he doesn't like the way that maybe they downplayed the injury, and maybe he feels like he aggravated it because he got bad advice. And I think even though he probably still has a good relationship with Greg Popovich, Popovich also suffers few fools. And Popovich is not going to publicly coddle a player. And I think what you have here is a player that likes to stay insular, a coach that likes to drive guys towards team, and this is the clash. That Kawhi's not about team right now. Kawhi's looking out for Kawhi. And Popovich is now calling his bluff, going, I'd be surprised if we see him again. Knowing that either does one of two things. It shifts, A, the pressure on Kawhi. Kawhi, why aren't you back? We thought you were healthy. The team thinks you should be back. Note that Greg Popovich isn't saying he's not ready. He's saying, I'd be surprised if he returns. They're basically saying, we think he's ready, but he thinks he's not. It either shifts pressure over to Kawhi, or it also, and maybe in combination, tells his team, we got to give up waiting and wanting for Kawhi to come back and thinking that he's going to be riding in on a white horse to save us in the playoffs. It's amazing when you really look at it, what the Spurs have done without Kawhi Leonard. How many teams in the NBA could lose their best player and still be the 3 seed in the West? I mean, think about that. They've lost their best player who's played 9 games this season, and they're the 3 seed in the West. Popovich is a magician, but he is doing 2 things more than likely. Shifting pressure to Kawhi, knowing that he's got no answers. And so, okay, Kawhi, you want to play this game with us? Well, then you have to share some of this. And number 2, telling his locker room, don't wait on Leonard. Do I think this is salvageable? I think it can be salvageable because look at what happened to LaMarcus Aldridge. It felt like that was unsalvageable. And Greg Popovich and LaMarcus Aldridge seem to be on a very positive, fruitful, healthy plane. And now Aldridge is playing like he used to play in Portland and is the most important player right now, more than likely, for the Spurs. And it seems like they fixed whatever was broken. I hope that that's also the case when it comes to Kawhi, because it's a shame to see one of the best players of the NBA simply be at odds with his team when it comes down to the playoffs. But I'll tell you this, I don't think it's salvageable this year. I think Kawhi is probably going to sit out the rest of the regular season and thus the postseason and maybe reset next year, and next year's going to be his walk year. But the Spurs not having Kawhi and Leonard mean that they can't give a real push to the Warriors or the Rockets in the West. And that's just the reality. If they had Kawhi, you give him a shot, especially against the Rockets, who they obviously were able to beat last year in the second round and shut down James Harden when it mattered most. Without Kawhi Leonard, their best defensive player and a lockdown perimeter guy, they do not stand a chance at even pushing the Warriors or the Rockets, I believe, in the Western Conference playoffs.